Hello everyone, this is Sam with Mission to you on the EdReach Network. Remember, missionmonday.com is your chance to improve your school and community and make it a better place 1 week at a time. Check us out at missionmonday.com. Also, check out all the other amazing resources on the EdReach Network. I'm in the midst of what's commonly called the Abagnale phase of a new career. And by commonly called, I mean just me, really. I'm the only one that calls it that. So it's not common vernacular at all, but I think it could be a thing, like a thing people say as a commonly understood colloquialism, or maybe something that attains urban dictionary status. I'm guessing that as you read this, most of you do not have a notion that pops in your head associated with the Abagnale phrase. No visual, no shared experience, nothing where you go, oh Lord, I remember this one Abagnale phase, I wasn't even sure I knew how to batter fish anymore. But you know more than you think. Chances are you have a context for the cultural reference as well as the experience. If you have lived through any change or challenge, you have had your very own Abagnale phase. Cultural reference, it comes from a movie called Catch Me If You Can. Maybe you've heard of it. It's got a couple of fellows named Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks in it. Maybe you've heard of them as well. Here's a short plot synopsis if you missed it. Leo plays a con man. Tom plays the cop trying to catch him. Leo's character speciality is pretending to be something he's not. He pretends to be an airline pilot. In doing so, he spends a lot of time in airports, on planes, and in the company of pilots. He also assumes the roles of a doctor and a lawyer. Again, he keeps company with the people that ought to be able to detect his deception, but he manages to pull off the charade. He never flies a plane or practices medicine. He just acts like he knows what he's doing, and people buy it. What's really compelling is that this is based on a real guy named Frank Abagnale. You should Google that dude. It's a pretty amazing story. My experience, 3 years ago, I began serving as an elementary principal. Prior to that, I had taught at a middle school for 11 years and served as a high school dean of students for 3 years. Notice that experience didn't include any time at an elementary school. I had been successful in my previous roles. I had a lot of assets suited for both roles preceding the principalship. But going in, elementary experience wasn't an asset I possessed. I had so much to learn before I could say with any confidence that I knew what I was doing, let alone call myself proficient. About 6 weeks into being a principal, my boss stopped by for a little evaluatory conversation. When he asked me how it was going, I told him that I felt like Frank Abagnale. Remember, Frank was Leo's character. Frank wasn't any good at being a doctor or a pilot or attorney. He was good at pretending he knew what he was doing. He was good at convincing the people around him that he was those things. I felt as though I wasn't even close to being good at being an elementary principal, but I had gotten pretty decent at pretending to be a principal. It was my hope I would learn what I needed to do before too many people noticed that I was just pretending. Maybe not the best thing to tell your boss, but he seemed to understand. I was in what I later started to call my Abagnale phase of a new job, and upon reflection I realized I went through an Abagnale phase as a teacher as well. I would suppose that most of us spent some amount of time standing in front of students enrolled in our first classes faking it, for lack of a better term. I can remember a veteran teacher telling me that since I wasn't endorsed in middle school or English or math, which of course was my teaching assignment, that I should fake it until you make it. I think she may have added that if I didn't pull that off, my students might eat me alive. So fake it I did. I pretended that I knew what I was doing, and eventually, minute by minute, class by class, I quit faking it because I settled in. I learned what I needed to know. I learned how to use my skills and talents to do what needed to be done. Faking it became making it, and eventually became thriving. When I interviewed for the Dean of Students position, one of the interviewers, the principal actually, started the interview by saying, the job description you were shown isn't what you will be doing. We are not exactly sure what your duties will be. We will sort that out if you get the job. New job, plus first time in administration, plus my potential boss isn't even sure of my responsibilities equals Abagnale phase for sure. I think that anytime you really challenge yourself, a bit of faking it is required. At some point, you have to do something you've never done before. Put on the cloak of confidence and say, I got this, even if you don't. As I started serving as a superintendent of schools, I realized wrapped up in this position are the roles of director of human resources, curriculum and instruction, finance, and transportation. Leonardo DiCaprio helped me Abagnale phase, here I come. But you know what? This Abagnale phase I've coined, this notion of faking it until you make it, we have another word for it. It's called learning. Every time we ask our students to do something beyond their proficiency level or comfort zone, we are asking them to fake it just a bit because we as educators know it's a necessary step to making it. If we just rest on what we know, on what we are comfortable with, and get further and further from those times we had to fake it, we lose touch with the experience of learning we so often ask of our students. Right now, I am in the most substantial Abagnale phase I have ever faced. I've got a lot of learning to do. Call it fake it till you make it, or the Abagnale phase. Either way, it's learning for sure. And really, that should be the first reason everyone goes to school, new principals included. Thanks again for listening. Once again, as always, check out all our stuff at missionmonday.com. We would love to help you out. Drop us a line so you can talk to us about how we can come to your school or community and help you make where you live a better place 1 week at a time.